Alright, so these conversations that I recorded, that people are pissed off that I recorded them, they show that the police slandered my name. However, the part that's missing is the slander from the police. That's in the court records. That's what I need access to. In order to prove that the police slandered my name, as well as Miss Peaches and Mandy Hughes and Shannon Alvarado and all of these other people who tried to help me, I have to get those court records to show the things that were said in court. The officers didn't have to show up. See, here's the thing. When I was supposed to have my pre-trial wasn't supposed to start until 2:30, and they dragged me in there at 10 o'clock. And the man who is the replacement for Pamela Carty basically spent about an hour and a half trying to send me into a panic attack by telling me he wasn't going to do his job. Or rather, he wasn't going to do her job. That they had not done anything to collect any evidence or to get the evidence that I was trying to force into the hands of the police, to force into the hands of the cops and the courts. My public pretenders had done nothing. When I tried to fire Pamela Carty, the new judge, see, I was supposed to have a different judge, and that judge apparently had heart issues. So we had a replacement judge, a woman, and I don't know her name. We only had 2 court dates with that woman. The first court date, I tried to fire Pamela Carty, and the judge refused to allow it. I tried to fire her because she didn't do her job. That judge would not allow it. She said that I was stuck with the public pretender that I was assigned, despite the fact that she would not do her job. 3 days later, on my birthday, that judge should have known that I was taking a plea deal only because I couldn't get a real fucking attorney. Now, mind you, all of these people who tried to help me, they didn't help how I asked. See, Miss Peaches never went in with me to speak to the police. And I knew what the police were going to do if nobody went in with me. Miss Peaches should have gone in with me before Natalie was killed. That's what I went over there for. That's why I was trying to get her help. That's why I was going to see these therapists. That's the reason that I was trying to go to the police, and it's the reason that I was fucking suicidal. The reason that I wanted my life to end. And because it was all over Natalie Bollinger not telling the truth, not coming forward, not calling off the dogs. I wanted Natalie Bollinger to see my corpse. Now, the guy that I'm staying with, he's watching a show called Dexter. I've seen Dexter before. It's a show about a serial killer who kills serial killers. He watches a lot of shows about killing. Most of America does. You guys are infatuated with killing. You are in love with killing. Serial killers are like movie stars to Americans. It's gross. Meanwhile, we throw away the good guys. The man who beats you, you go back to repeatedly. But the friend who helped you out, you throw him away when you go back to the man who beats you or the man who raped you. I think the show Dexter is pretty fucking gross. Now, in order to get those records, which I have been calling repeatedly to these different places to get, these different public pretenders who didn't do their jobs, outright refused to do their jobs. See, the thing is, if this is ever investigated by the FBI, and the FBI actually does their jobs, the judges in all of my court cases, all of them, will be going to prison, federal prison. Many police officers across the state of Colorado, Nebraska, Wyoming, Washington State, and South Dakota will be going to prison. If they're lucky, they'll lose their jobs. And all it would have taken to get the ball rolling was Miss Peaches going in with me in court. Aunt B going in with me in court. Brandon Ratner going in with me in court in the state of Colorado. Now, Brandon Ratner did go with me to court in Wyoming in December, or in January. But he really didn't know much about that case. Now, the evidence that I have from that, combined with what Ray Ray had to say, if you look on my YouTube channel and type Ray Ray, you can listen to the conversation between her and I. That'll show you that I was telling the truth there, and that those police did wrong. If there's a lot more to it than that, there's also the hospital there. See, hospitals work closely with the police. The police rely on the hospitals and hospital protocols when they do something wrong. When the police want to frame somebody because that somebody is trying to turn them in. And hospital staff, they go right along with this. See, when you go to a hospital, especially a mental hospital, you rarely see the doctor. The doctor isn't even on the ward. What you've got is a bunch of glorified babysitters. The things that Clearview is in trouble for, Clearview is not the only hospital in America that does that. This is nationwide, folks. Now, I need to get access to what was said in court, because although I'm not allowed an honest court date, and I never will, because of the things that have happened, the least I can do is show the truth to the American people. The truth of why it is that I had to break the law. I was forced to break the law to defend myself and my loved ones. No matter how pissed off they are at me, they are safe because I was a goddamn loudmouth about their predators. Their predators are too scared to get that close. And yeah, I've gotten a lot of death threats against me. Mostly from people who pretend like they believe in a God. So you can tell the ones that don't believe in God because they're always talking about their God when they do evil things. My God is an awesome God. Bullshit. Bullshit. You don't believe in God. Shelley doesn't believe in God. Danica doesn't believe in God. These are addicts who want people to believe them. So they pick on easy prey. There are lots of Christians who actually believe that bullshit. There are lots of Christians out there who want to help out people. But they only want to help out people in their group, other Christians. And that's why drug addicts prey on them when they do something wrong. When these drug addicts fuck up somebody else's life by slandering them, they want help, so they throw a sympathy story out there to a preacher. Meanwhile, look at how many preachers, not just Catholic priests. I hear a lot of you guys slamming the Catholics for this. It's not just Catholic priests. We have pastors of every denomination here in America going to prison for molesting children, for taking advantage of people through the church. It's an easy way to victimize people. I used to believe in God. But after everything that's happened in my life, I can't. I can't believe in a loving God. Especially after fake Christians that I had to deal with. People who I believe to be good, honest, and righteous people. Like Brenda Dickinson. Well, all of these people, their excuse for not coming forward, for not telling the truth, is, I'm not Jesus. Well, fuck you, I'm not Jesus either. That's no fucking excuse. I'm standing up to all of these people, and I'm not Jesus. You know what Jesus did? He stood up to all these people. Back in his day, that's what he did. Even if it led to his death, he stood his ground. Because unlike you, Jesus was not a coward. Now, the things that were said about me in court, I need to be able to get access to those court records, to the things that were said, to the mass quantities of court dates that I went to, while they prevented me from going to court dates. That's what they had to do in order to cover for the police officers and those police officers' wrongdoing. In order to prove that these police officers slandered my name, I have to get what it is that they said and make a video about that. And then in each of these court cases, below that, put the words of people like Steve Tombleson and Katie Cahill and Natalie Bollinger and Alicia Bollinger and Maddie Boa and Kayla Trujillo and Shannon Alvarado. However, these people already decided my guilt, already decided how court was going to go. The Public Pretender's Office works closely with the DA. They decide who wins and who loses before court ever happens. When they're not willing to allow evidence into the courtroom, when the police only listen to one side, only take reports from one side, it's because they have already decided your guilt. So, that's what I'm dealing with. Assumed guilt. Like I said way back when this first started, my guilt was assumed. And without people coming forward about what they knew, I was not going to get an honest court date. I was going to get railroaded and I was going to get tortured. And that's exactly what happened. Joanna Taylor should have come forward about what she knew, about the fact that I was trying to get help. Well, all these crazy fucking lunatics in the media and in the general public who are obsessed with death. Oh, we can't have a story about somebody who's disabled being harmed. No, we have to twist it around so that this guy is the bad guy. We can't make a story about this guy who's innocent being ripped off by his roommates, being stolen from, being assaulted repeatedly. Oh no, we've already painted him out to be the bad guy. We have already painted him out to be the boogeyman. These people want to be pissed off that I exposed Natalie with her heroin use. They weren't all pissed off at the media for saying that, were they? Were they? I'm the bad guy for saying it, but the media's not. The fact is, at no point in time has any officer made any attempt to investigate any of the things that have happened to me. The FBI has made no effort. None whatsoever. The fact is, in order for them to hold me and prevent me from being released from the Arapahoe County Jail, they had to pretend like I wasn't going to court. Meanwhile, the court records that I've been requisitioning and asking for over and over and over again show that I went to over 20 court dates in 2018 before I was prevented from going to court. You know what they used to prevent me from being released when I was in Arapahoe County Jail? The court date that I missed because I was locked up in Arapahoe County Jail. The court date in Larimer County. The court date in Larimer County where I was injected with mind-altering drugs. Assaulted by the staff for trying to make a police report. For trying to get the police there. And did the police ever show up? Of course they did. They wouldn't show up and take a report from me, though. After the assault and the druggings by the people at Clearview. By the way, the folks at Clearview killed a man doing this 5 months after I was there. This is what happens when you don't fit society's idea of what normal is. Now, you guys want to paint people who are high-functioning and autistic as serial killers. Like we have no emotions but rage and hate and anger. No, I have a whole range of emotions. All of these people that I'm pissed at, well, most of them anyway, I love them. I know them in person. I care about their well-being. When Natalie Bollinger went missing, the first thing I tried to do was help to find her. Despite the fucked up shit that she did to me by not coming forward, by not telling the truth, by outright lying. Shannon Alvarado isn't any better than Natalie Bollinger. They're both addicted to something. Both of them are pissed off because I exposed what the fuck was going on and why they did the fucked up shit that they did. Both of them meant well to begin with, but their addictions got in the way. While I was at Shannon's, I had to deal with Shannon's addictions while I was there. Not just her yelling at Rick, but also I got to see the effects on her children. I got to feel the effects on me. When she wanted her tile work done, and I got everything set up at night to do that tile work, Shannon would not let me do the tile work because she needed attention. She needs someone to listen to her 24 hours a day. Shannon's voice is the only one that matters. And then, of course, after spending hours and hours and hours listening to her complain about Rick, or anybody else for that matter, and the work isn't getting done, I'm like, hey, Shannon, you need to stay sober so I can do this, or you need to go away so I can do this. But that tile work never got done. When her friend who was supposed to do it came over, she bitched at him. And she wanted to do the same thing to him that she did to Rick. Rick is in the room, and Shannon is arguing with Rick, and she is wanting me to verify or justify her actions. She is wanting to ask me questions like, well, if he's on the side of the road for 15 minutes, isn't that enough time to have sex? I don't care if it's enough time to have sex, Shannon. That's none of my goddamn business. But you're dragging me into it. Just like Natalie and Alicia dragged me into whatever the fuck was going on with them there in Virginia. It had nothing to do with me unless I'm the boy they were fighting over. And I'm not a boy, I'm a grown-ass man. The places that fucked me the worst. All of these places were able to do that because why? Because people like Candace Bondurant didn't come forward. She wanted to hide the fact that she fucking outright lied. All of these people lied to me, though. Every one of them. Shannon Alvarado said if I was there, she would help me by going through that stuff with me. But when I got there, she was too drunk to do that. You can't help me if you're not willing to write a goddamn police report. Now, the things that Kara Johnston Miles said that were used in my court dates to prevent me from being able to even speak on my own behalf. Her slander that was allowed in my court dates, I'm not allowed access to. They have done everything in their power to prevent me from having access to that. Meanwhile, I have the other half of the evidence that I need. Sure, I'll never be allowed an honest day in court, but at least I can show the American public. Whether they want to listen or not, take a look or not, do anything about it or not, at least I showed it. At least I tried. When I was growing up, I used to hear the saying, where there's a will, there's a way. Well, I'm willing to show the truth, even if it costs me my life. I'm willing to expose these predators, even if it kills me. I've heard my entire life, after growing up in the system, being beaten, being raped, being molested, hearing about how child molesters should be treated. All these people saying, oh, I'd cut their balls off, or I'd cut their heads off, or the only way to deal with a child molester is a bullet to the head. Meanwhile, these people aren't cutting the balls off of child molesters. They're not cutting the heads off of child molesters. They're not shooting child molesters. They're all talk. I said I would expose them, and I've done so. Even my little brother. Do you know who told me that my little brother was in trouble for molesting his own daughter? Or his own stepdaughter? That would be Brenda Dickinson. Brenda Dickinson is the one who told me about that. And Amanda DeMette was the second person to tell me about that. I still talk to Amanda DeMette. A lot of women are predators, and they know exactly how to manipulate to hide what they're doing wrong. Hide behind the name of Jesus, or call him a child molester or a rapist. If you're having problems in court, you're having custody issues. Or you could call him a woman beater. The story that James told me and the story that Jamie told me, well, there's three sides to that story. There's his, there's hers, and there's the truth. When you go back to your predators, that's on you. When a man throws you down a set of stairs and you go back to him, that's on you. So, after all the shit that Jamie pulled, if James was to throw her down a set of stairs again, who would she call? She'd already thrown me under the bus. Then there's fake Christians like Todd Rust. This is not the Todd that I stayed with that's a drug dealer. This is a man who pretends to be Christian when it suits him. He has a tattoo of a cross on his arm. Do you know who drew that cross? I did. Todd Rust has a piece of artwork permanently attached to his skin that I drew. And it wasn't even a piece of artwork that I intended to stick on his skin. It was just a basic idea for him to work with. Just a basic sketch he was supposed to get back to me about. Imagine my surprise when he got that tattooed on his arm. It was just a basic sketch. The courts would not allow me access to that court documentation or to any of the so-called evidence at any point in time. When I was in court, Pamela Cardi left that on there's a wooden rail that's in front of where the inmates sit for court. And Pamela set it there while she went and talked to somebody else. And I took a look at that information while I was sitting there. And although the guard came and took that from me, it took them a few minutes to realize that I was reading it. Imagine that. The accused is not allowed to know what it is that people are saying about them. Meanwhile, Kara Johnson Miles, the things that she had to say and the things that she did, those are documented. And I'd like to be able to show that to the American public. I'd like to be able to show all of the slander in the courtrooms that Shannon Alvarado's testimony would have squashed like an egg. that Kayla Trujillo's testimony would have had these people locked up. See, the conversations that I posted here on my YouTube show that I'm telling the truth. At least about my interactions with all of these people that I recorded. But then there's the fact that the documentation from the courts I also told the truth about. Katie Cahill, if she had made a report and written down what was going on in a timely and efficient manner, not 8 months after the fact, a year after the fact, whenever, which it doesn't matter because she never actually did so. Neither did Miss Peaches. Shannon Alvarado finally did, about one small situation. But I needed her to write down what she knew about all of it from the beginning. See, all of these people, it verifies that I was trying to get help. Nicole Peralta, going to see her, proves that I was trying to get help. Going to Jeff Ritter proves that I was trying to get help. Going to Miss Peaches and to Candace shows that I was trying to get help. The fact that all of these people promised me the help that I needed and did not deliver is not my fault. It is not my choice. And you blaming me for it just makes you an idiot.